Greetings, my greetings.
Hi, everybody. How are you guys? Welcome, welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
I kind of lost. You know what? We usually start in camera one. This time we started in camera two.
You
So I
know,
lost myself for a
it,
second.
it happens. Sometimes, we're looking over
Yeah, we
here when we
usually
should be over
are. So I
here.
got me through off a little bit. It's okay. Welcome to Here to Help You, everybody. Today we have a wonderful, controversial, I don't know, like, there's some things that are going to be said. But one thing I will say is I'm excited at the fact that, you know what, Dave? I'm thankful to you because you decided to reach outside of Toronto and find out what's happening in our great country because there's a lot that needs to be done.
When we're looking at population size,
Hmm.
when we're just talking about us as Africans here, right? As a whole, we make up just a little bit less than 8%,
Okay.
right? In Ontario,
Okay.
right? Which is the largest among other provinces, right? And from the young lady now who we'll be speaking to, right? She lives in Winnipeg, as we know.
You know how I used to remember that when I was younger, like all the provinces? I
Wow.
remember like Winnipeg, like your peg leg.
Peg leg?
That's how I remembered
Well,
it.
they call it Peg City as well, so it makes it, yeah,
You
there you go,
see?
right?
Teacher's tricks.
Right? So, I mean, but their population is less than 4%. So
Yeah,
you can imagine, like,
3.6 to be exact.
thank you,
You're
right? So
welcome.
could you imagine, like, less than 4% of us being in a large city and how isolated that could be,
I can imagine. And this
right?
is why we're doing this today.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, it's all important, right? And what we're trying to do simply is looking at extending our hand so we can build bridges with brothers and sisters who are doing the work right across this nation of
And
ours.
lending them our support and letting them know that we are here. You need to, it's always good to know that there's someone that you can reach out to,
Of course,
you know,
of course.
just to even lend a hand or um, give them a face to their story.
Yeah, people look to us here in Toronto as the big brothers and sisters of Canada.
Do you think we're doing a good job?
I think there's room for improvement.
You're so positive.
You asked me a question and I answered it. There's room for improvement.
I'll keep my
There
mouth
is.
shut now.
Do you
All
keep your
right.
mouth shut?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't want to say anything
No,
and put
hold
my foot in my
on.
mouth.
You asked me a question. Would you like me to go a little bit more in specifics? Why I think this?
As long as it doesn't take up from the time that we need to explain about
Okay.
what we're talking about today. Go
Well,
ahead.
one thing in regards to the National Black Summit, right? It's a start,
Okay, wonderful. You're right. It is a start.
right? There is room for improvement there. In regards to going what type of direction. I recently did receive some funding, so how that money is going to be allocated and how to really truly going to go ahead and help, our communities. It's said, right? So I mean, there is room for improvement there. From grassroots specifically, definitely there's so much more room for improvement. So many little pockets of people doing little things, right? Greater is when we be able to come together and actually do one large thing, right? Everything will stem off. So I mean,
Well, that's what we're doing here today.
there you go.
We're joining forces outside of Toronto. I'm so excited.
Yes, you are.
So talk to us, Dave. Since you are the man of research and words and education, tell us what's happening today.
Wow, you make me feel quite astute.
I just didn't read this part of the script. That's all.
That's
Continue.
all? Are you
That's
sure?
it. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay, good. No problem. So, the young lady who we have on the show today, her name is Alexa Potashnik, right? As you mentioned, she is from Winnipeg, right? And the information which I'm going to take from here now is from we.org. In 2016, Black Lives Matter protests spread across the United States, and Alexa was camped out here in Toronto, part of a tent city demonstration outside of police headquarters. It was months after the police shot and killed Andrew Loku, whose death was followed by the deaths of Alton Sterling, Philando Castile. You know what? I'm not going to say that name to mess it up,
Let me see
right?
if I can help you out.
Please. After Castile,
Abdirahman. Abdirahman.
thank you. Right.
Memorized
Pretty
that.
much all that year in 2016. So what she did is that she took that experience here, and as well as, of course, everything else which is happening to our brothers and sisters across the border. So she went in and organized her own Black Lives Matter rally outside of the Winnipeg, I believe, the police station at that time.
Okay.
Right. Um, it's interesting because on that day, which started out to be a beautiful and sunny day, ended up raining, and 400 people who were outside all took shelter pretty much on the steps of the building, all right, and stayed and really participated in something really magical in Winnipeg. And from there, Black Space Winnipeg came up.
I love it. Black Space Winnipeg.
Yeah, Black Space Winnipeg. Could we show the logo? So Black Space Winnipeg. So found this on their website. So it's founded by members of Winnipeg's Black community. Black Space Winnipeg is a grassroots Winnipeg-based organization that fosters organic dialogue on everyday experiences of being Black. Right. And simply what it is that they open up the doors, right, and really, really have a safe space for us to go ahead and congregate.
You know what? And when Alexa comes on, I actually going to have a question. I do have a question about the idea of safe space and what that looks like to her, because everyone has their own thoughts of what a safe space looks like, right?
Right.
Our idea of a safe space here in Toronto is not going to be the same idea of a safe space in Winnipeg, because we're dealing with sometimes different, obviously, demographics, different cultures, and different attitudes.
Oh yeah,
right?
definitely. And it's gonna be interesting, of course, to hear her take on that. Right. Not only did she went ahead and created a Black Space Winnipeg, right? They also got involved in creating some other local events. The Angela Davis, right, which we'll talk to her about later, right? Nuit Noir is kind of like the Nuit Blanche that we have here, but simply, of course, she created, well, part of the creation team that Nuit Noir, right? Also the Afro Prairie Film Festival,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons how I actually came to know about Black Space Winnipeg was through the film festival.
Yeah, you were telling me, because I remember you were looking up some stuff.
Right.
And
So
you'd mentioned about the app, and I think we'd gotten in contact with them, but I know they were very busy because of the festival, so we couldn't have her. I think were we supposed to have her in a little bit earlier?
we probably did reach out to them a little bit
Yeah,
earlier,
but I know they were. I know with this film festival, things were a
Right.
little bit hectic, so they couldn't really. But we got her anyway.
we got her now. That's right. Afro Film Festival, 2017. They debuted "I Am Not Your Negro," James Baldwin.
Okay.
Right. This past one in February, Black Klansman, the Spike Lee movie.
Oh, the
Right.
KK. Okay.
There you go. Right. So I mean, like it's wonderful in regards to like keep seeing these things take place, especially now within a small city such as Winnipeg. Right. Project Heal is another item which is pretty much hubbed inside of the Black Space Winnipeg.
Okay.
Right. Project Heal is simply a community group therapy program, right? Simply where people come in, and of course, I'm sure they're dedicated response. Like, I'm not sure what the title may be,
It's a
but
response team.
there you go, response team. Thank you. I was close, wasn't I?
That's
Right?
why Dave needs me.
Hush. Yes, you complete all my sentences.
So Project Heal, go ahead. Did we just put up that picture? Is that what that was? Project Heal?
Project Heal, did we? Oh, perfect.
There it is.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's pretty much in regards to like creating a safe space, right? And really allowing us a place where we simply don't have to have our thoughts cooped up inside of us.
And this young lady here, boy, she don't care. When she wants to talk, she's going to talk. And this is why I want to hear from her about what her idea of a safe space is. So
Oh yeah,
I think we have a clip that we're going to go into before we go on break.
yeah.
And when we get back, we are going to sit down with Alexa,
There we go.
president and founder of Black Space Winnipeg. See you guys soon.
Hello and good evening, fools and horses. Let me hear you make some noise. What a beautiful crowd, as always. I'm Alexa Potashnik, also known as MC Wolf. I'll be your host and MC for the evening. Very, very, very excited. I'm also the host of Raw Colors on CKW 95.9 FM and founder of Black Space Winnipeg. We are thrilled to be partnering with Joy and Stream Winnipeg to be putting on a Black History Month event. and showcasing very diversified artists in the city, raw talent from the Black community. So thank you so much for coming.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Hello, my name is Anisha, and I'm the production manager of CN Network. Have you ever wanted to host your own show? Do you have a message to share? Well, you're in luck. We are looking for dynamic and unique individuals to host their own shows. We are seeking people who are committed, motivated, and energetic. Do you want to be the next Jimmy Fallon, Ellen DeGeneres, or Shane and Ryan from BuzzFeed Unsolved? Start here. Fill out the Propose a Show form on mytcntv.com. We're here to educate, support, and build the community. Can you lead by example? Go the extra mile and seek knowledge? Are you humble, disciplined, responsible, selfless, and enthusiastic? Those are our core values. And if you identify with them, you could be part of a growing network that focuses on positivity and uplifting our community. We can't wait for you to join us on TCN Network and hope to hear from you soon.
Canada is built on narratives of diversity, the cultural mosaic trope that consumes outsiders' perspectives of our so-called welcoming nation. To those fleeing prosecution, terror, and war, Canadians will welcome you regardless of your faith. Diversity is our strength. Welcome to Canada. This quote from Justin Trudeau outlines our concept of Canadian politeness and unity, making it quite difficult to convince the general mainstream public that Canada could ever be subject to or producers of discrimination. Now, these false narratives are enforced by a political commentary that appears inclusive on the surface but remains exclusive in practice. So some people ask and say to me, Alexa, how could you say Canada isn't a leader of change with a progressive figure like Justin Trudeau? His cabinet is made up of 50% of women. He's a feminist.
So I would like to present to everyone, look at her smile and her purple hair. I would like to introduce, so I'm going to give people a little bit about you, okay, girl, before we have you fully speaking on the show. So this lovely lady was awarded the Sybil Shack Youth Award from the Manitoba Association of Rights and Liberties in 2017, as well as being awarded the Humanitarian of the Year at the African Community Awards in 2018, and she was also recognized as one of CBC's Future 40 Under 40. They kind of tried to age you there. They could have said like 30 under 30. Like, I know. Now people know what box you're in. Like, that's so annoying. But I would like to introduce the MyTCN TV network and the Here to Help show, Miss Alexa, founder of Black Space Winnipeg and president. Let me put some respect on your name, girl. Founder and president of Black Space Winnipeg. Thank you for doing this with us. Honestly, when I read your story, I was so excited to even have this opportunity to speak with you. You are awesome. So I want to get that out there first.
Thank you.
So let's start about your genesis into this life, girl. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So, born in Winnipeg, raised, and my parents weren't born here though. So my mom and my grandparents were born in Jamaica, and then they did the Caribbean migration from Jamaica to England to Canada in the 1960s. And my father is Russian Jewish, and he immigrated here in the 1980s. But I was raised by my mom, so I definitely, and till this day, she has no idea how much of an influence her work has, she has on my work. So I think given her influence and upbringing and like my Caribbean and Jamaican background, it definitely speaks volumes to the work that I do today. And I can't believe you guys found that clip of raw colors and me beatboxing. That was hilarious. And that was years ago. So I'm a vocal percussionist. I'm a beatboxer. I've been doing that since I was like 9. And yeah, ever since I'd say for the past 7 years of my academic and professional career, I have been challenging systemic oppression, anti-Blackness, and white supremacy in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
I absolutely am in awe of you. And
oh my God,
you just got a bonus because you're Jamaican, girl. Yeah. You saw all types of like, which mean all about the food. I don't even need to talk about the oxtail.
That's right.
And the rice and peas.
Dumpling stew.
I
got you,
girl.
Easy bits.
Whenever you come to Toronto, you have a place. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Does that mean that you're commissioning me to cook?
Dave can cook, by the way. So.
Okay, thank God.
We got you.
I would make all the meals in the house.
So we know that you're a very creative person. Let's talk about some of the work you've done before we start hitting into some really heavy topics.
Sure.
Tell us about the self-care through creative practice that you have kind of developed and what that kind of looks like. Because there's a lot of work you do with your creativity.
Yes. So, and it's interesting actually in the beginning of Black Space and my activist, I'd say, career, we did a lot of creative artistic resistance because quite frankly, governments are more willing to give Black folks money to be creative and less so for, seeking justice and implementing things that our community needs. So you can be creative. So we took that, and I've always thought, to be political and artistic is, within the same breath. And I explore a lot of that through my beatboxing and, but also reminding myself to give time to my creative outlet because being an activist and, challenging this systemic discrimination is no joke, and it can suck you up pretty quickly. So as a vocal percussionist, that's like my escape and my time to just be me and be creative. And it's been a great journey so far.
So we're gonna get right into your political things now. Now that we've talked creative, to kind of segue into. I'm waiting to touch this topic. That's next segment. So give us 5 minutes, people. We're getting there.
Okay, no problem.
But let's talk about the work you did with the Women's March on Washington in Winnipeg.
Okay.
And the event, it drew over 3,000 Winnipeggers in the heart of downtown. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the Women's Health Clinic in Winnipeg reached out to me and said, we want to, it was the end of 2016, very a political turmoil and uncertainty with everything that happens in the States. And I was just like, well, maybe for white people, but for people of color, I don't think we were shocked or surprised because these kind of political letdowns happen on a regular basis. But they wanted to be in solidarity with the women's marches that were happening really around the world. And I said, sure, I'd love to be a part of this. And it ended up being very powerful. But at the same time, I was trying to navigate between just being a token, racially ambiguous, like MC on the stage, and actually trying to implement some type of systemic change. And it was really interesting. Even the geography of the march, we started at our downtown mall called Portage Place. And then we marched all the way, I'd say 8 blocks to Portage and Main. And then we came back to the same place we started. So it had very, interesting symbolic reference of, starting and coming back to the exact same place, physically how we moved in the march. But it was really interesting to see the community come together. What I was very adamant about was having people of color, vulnerable groups, queer communities leading this march, right? Because we are the ones most vulnerable to state oppression and state violence, police brutality. and allies, folks who are cisgendered and white and middle class and suburbanites, at the back, like we're leading it. And I definitely got a lot of backlash and older folks and older white feminists saying, well, I don't understand. This march is supposed to bring everyone together, not divide us. And I was like, well, if you're a real ally, you wouldn't be asking me questions like that in the first place. We're just at a bit of a political disconnect. But the more people I meet, I noticed you guys brought up the National Black Summit, and I was there this February. The more people I meet across the country, the more Black people I meet doing work, the more I'm starting to see zero. Am I allowed to swear on the show?
Go right ahead.
Zero fucks given about white people's agenda and their commentary and opinion, and really coming into our narrative. I don't really care where you're coming from because you had your time and it's time for us. So the Women's March was a good example of that how, if you're really an ally and about our struggle and our movement, then you'll have no problem supporting us and remaining, a silent ally.
So what's interesting, you just brought up, and it's something I thought about, being racially ambiguous. How is that like for you in this movement? Because a lot of people may look at you. I won't even lie, I thought you were Native. Do you get that a lot?
I get people at the end of the day, they see me how they want to see me. My sister and my sister would present more Black than I do, right? And I present more, I don't know, mixed, Latina, however folks, you said Métis, however people want to see me. And that I'm always conscious about the fact of my own light skin privilege. Even though I identify as a Black woman and was raised by a Black woman, it doesn't mean I've experienced the direct, harsh anti-Blackness that my mom has growing up in Canada. But I'm still in tune and aware of those realities, right? I'm not free of discrimination, but I experience it in a different way. And I always have to be conscious and accountable and responsible for the way I present and using my privilege to make sure that I'm helping others, right? Not taking over, not dividing, but bringing people together. And it's, I'm always going to be challenged on that. And I know, and I have a thick skin, and I appreciate folks who are willing to have that conversation with me, because light skin privilege and colorism and shadism are huge realities in the Black community that we don't talk about enough. And I just think that if we're not, especially biracial folks, particularly who are Black and white and who benefit from light skin privilege, or if they do, or if they present as mixed or more racially ambiguous, then we have to be aware of the realities that our people in our community face that we don't face all the time, and be allies to that as well.
You know what, love, thank you. I'm so excited. So listen, now that you guys have a taste of this beautiful, bold, girl, you just looking to start trouble. So let's start it.
Yes,
when we get back, we are going to talk a little bit more about one of the most recent backlashes that Alexa's had to deal with in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about this one.
Yeah, this will be interesting, guys. We'll be right back.
Okay. So what we need is a revolution, an education revolution, to revamp the blueprint of our universities. I came to the University of Winnipeg, I came to seek higher education and open my mind and discover what I wanted to do with my university career. Basically, to discover, achieve, and belong. So what did I discover? That I had a unique voice, that loved to challenge professors in the classroom. What can I say? I was raised by a very conscious, independent Black woman. That's some of the benefits, and I'll never apologize for that. And I wanted to relate to people in my community. So what did I achieve? A way to grow my passion through grassroots activism, collaborating with a network that applies models of change through pressure, persistence, and promise. And where do I belong to now? A community that recognizes the importance of these issues that affected marginalized groups. Now, the thirst I have for raw actions of change came from a lack of diversity I noticed within my academic career. If we're truly in a cultural, mosaic, diverse nation, then that should be reflected across all areas of our society. It's 2017, excuse me, and our education system needs to encompass and represent communities across our nation, not just the one pocket of our nation's privileged majority.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
We're back.
It was like a blackout. And now we're gonna Girl, I'm a
That's
mess.
a nice
You just
segue.
need to ignore me majority of the time.
That's a
Welcome
nice
back,
segue.
everybody. Welcome back to Here to Help You. We are here with the lovely Alexa from Black Space Winnipeg.
Yeah.
President and founder. Put some respect on it. Put some respect on it. So, girl.
All right.
Woo. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about whiteout. And
Yes,
making
let's
Winnipeg,
do.
downtown Winnipeg, great again.
Could we show that picture? So here's
boy.
for our viewers, we're gonna show the actual the comment that you made on Twitter.
Well, this is just a picture.
Well, that's just a picture. But
So let's go into a little bit of an explanation about this. And you know what? Honestly,
Sure.
Alexa, I'll let you do more of the explaining because this is really your thing. But I want everyone
Sure.
to take a look at this. Just take a look at the picture, okay? And it looks pretty innocent, right?
I could see.
Back to Alexa, please.
So, yeah. So do you want me to give you a bit of a background of what happened?
Let's let them know.
Okay. So for all of you amazing Torontonians out there, no, sorry, you're in Brampton, right? You're in Brampton?
Torontonians.
I just still,
Same thing.
still-
Okay, Toronto.
yeah.
Last Wednesday, I posted a headline from the Winnipeg Free Press that said, Winnipeg, Jets turns downtown Winnipeg white again. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. So when I was scrolling through it, because I subscribed to the Winnipeg Free Press, I was reading more into it, and I obviously knew they were talking about the Winnipeg Whiteout Jets party that happens. I think they've been starting this for the past few years now, since 2015, I believe. They revitalized the tradition, and it started back in like the 1980s. So the headline itself I took issue with because I immediately thought of, Donald Trump, Make America Great Again. Whether that was their intention or not, to people, it can carry a different weight. That headline can carry a very different meaning depending on who's reading it. So I screenshotted that. And then a couple days later, I saw that the province of Manitoba, our conservative government, is putting up to $400,000 to these street parties, which is a significant amount of money. And in previous years, last year specifically, they only put in about $2,000. So I thought, okay, from 2,000 to 400,000, like where is that money coming from? And then I did a bit more digging into the Jets, and I saw that documentary where you saw those guys in a hazmat suits that spelled out the Jets, and some of those older fan appreciation pandemonium photos. And it was like white noise never dies, white out, you know, it's supposed to represent a blizzard and a play on our extreme Winnipeg weather. And that all made sense to me. What I was having trouble with was the headline itself. I was like, well, that's not really inclusive to a lot of communities who are vulnerable to some of the madness that happens and ensues when these parties take place. And that's a significant amount of money that the province could be spending towards anything else that will benefit marginalized communities, especially in the downtown Winnipeg area, the inner city specifically. So I tweeted, I put it on our social media, just saying, you know, when you're calling a massive street party a whiteout, it might not make everybody feel safe, right? And it was more of a critical critique on the Jets culture. It's nothing to do with the sport, the players involved, the NHL. It's strictly what happens when large groups of people, predominantly white people, fled the streets of Winnipeg, you know, in this party atmosphere, start drinking. And, you know, what does that mean for marginalized communities? What does it mean for Black communities, for people of color, for Indigenous, for queer communities, for folks with disabilities? What does that mean when you maybe don't fit in that heteronormative box to engage in these street parties? The next day, CGOB reached out to me and were like, oh, well, we never thought about that. Would you like to come and speak to us on our show? And I was like, sure. So I went on Thursday morning, and they were getting text messages and calls saying, you know, the Jets and hockey has nothing to do with race. This woman doesn't know what she's talking about. She's clearly like hockey illiterate, if such a thing exists, and doesn't like the traction it's received has been CBC, CTV, Global have all written something about it. Now the Winnipeg Press did another article, and they actually revised their original article headline that I posted, and they didn't have a statement for that, obviously. And now it's like blown up into this huge thing where people are like, well, is hockey racist? And are Black people allowed to like hockey? And, you know, what a lot of people of color were commenting like, well, I'm a person of color and I don't feel attacked or unsafe in these spaces. So obviously there's something wrong with me. And it's just gotten a little bit out of hand where people are tagging me and, you know, very derogatory messaging and, you know, calling me every name in the book. And I obviously anticipated backlash. I wasn't expecting this much, and the comments are still going. I had to turn off comments and put things on mute because I have a full-time job and a life also outside of my activist career that, you know, I need to put food on the table. So it's been a little overwhelming. And, but at the end of the day, like I don't have any regrets. Like what I said is valid. I'm not the only person who thinks like this. And the argument of people feeling safe downtown is a legitimate concern, especially the majority of folks coming to these games are suburbanites who have misconceptions and very stereotypical notions of the inner city anyway, and the people who inhabit those spaces anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, the folks who are really upset and fragile about this don't want to step outside their box or outside of a perspective that they can't understand. And then it's getting out of hand where people are like, just the comments, some of the comments are just absolutely ridiculous. And I've laughed at most of them because they're enabled to just see things from another point of view. And obviously their privilege, I think, you know, exempts them from trying to understand another perspective. But it's no different than, I think in Toronto, also you guys they wanted to make tailgating legal, where they can chill out stadiums,
That's
if
right.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So this is a larger like Canadian conversation, and obviously people feel really fragile, and then we hit that white fragility nerve because how could you attack hockey? How can you attack our city, something that brings us all together, a part of our Canadian fabric, a part of our identity? And I think if we're not critical of these, institutions and not making the party safe for everybody, then it's not for everybody at the end of the day. And unfortunately, I don't. I'm more concerned that of their reaction and less concerned of the backlash that I'm getting. Because even though it's a lot, I know there's a lot of people who've come before me and said similar things and have done this work. So that's keeping me grounded in myself. But yeah, it's now just blown out of proportion, and we're gonna have to. I'm gonna have to readdress it sooner than later. But it's just amazing to see, and this is a great example that Canada doesn't think that we're racist, that white supremacy doesn't exist here, and so stuck in our liberal safe haven where there is no slavery up here and we're all kumbaya, and those are very inaccurate. And if anything, I think the liberal approach and that cultural mosaic kind of sentiments are more dangerous to people of color than to like groups like the alt-right and more aggressively conservative outright situations.
I love it. You know what I love? I love your stance and how you're so unapologetic about it. That's what I appreciate.
Thank you.
And you talked
Thank
about
you.
this fragility nerve. Before we go back on break, I like that. You said in your interview with Global News 680, you said, we hit the fragility nerve. That is what we usually do. So can you explain to people what the fragility nerve is?
Yeah, white fragility is when you basically tell white people, or you hold up the mirror, okay, and they don't like their reflection, and then they take that out on you. So that's what we have done, and that's just the reality. That's what we're going to continue to do, and I feel safe knowing that I'm not alone in my ideology. I'm not alone in my thoughts. There's a lot of people who think like me, and it's just going to take more of us speaking out to change the reality for people like us.
So go ahead, Dave, because I know I've been kind of hogging. I have so many questions. Oh my God. Go ahead, Dave.
The one thing that's truly outstanding and does stand out for me is the fact that with all the negative comments that have been made, and I've gone through the feed and I've read some of them, right? How do you find that balance for yourself when, of course, you have this backlash coming back to yourself, of course, to some of your peers, and so on and so forth, right? So how do you find that balance for yourself?
I had the biggest thing that helps remind me is like, don't let them catch your emotions. Don't let them catch you caught off guard, right? And I've disengaged. Like I haven't looked at anything. A lot of people have stepped in and, try to help me monitor posts and whatnot and comments. If it's not positive, I'm not reading it. Not to run away from it, but because I know that the folks that I targeted don't want to understand or don't want to try to understand where we're coming from, right? They're not open-minded. So at one point, it's like, what's the use of saying something? But the other is like, well, we have to say something because things won't change if we don't. But I've disengaged. I do yoga, thank God for yoga. That helps me breathe and just stay calm. And it took me a long time to get to a place where I don't react all the time. I went through my Kanye moment last year and the year before, and it was a wake-up call. And I've learned from those experiences and have a very strong support system that is like, you know what, Alexa, we got you. We believe in you, and just take one step at a time.
Love it. So when we come back, yes, you deal with backlash, and that's a part of life, especially in doing the work that you do. But we want to start really focusing on the great work that you're doing. We're going to talk about 2019 Afro Prairie Film Festival when we get back, and we'll end this on a great note, because yes, I'm sure you hear a lot of the backlash, and it's not good hearing some of these comments. But I want people to understand there's balance with this. With the negative comes positive, and we're gonna now
That's
highlight
right.
a lot of the positive that Black Space Winnipeg is doing out there. So when we come back, guys, in a few minutes, just hold on, just hold on. We got some more for you guys. See you guys soon.
Hello, my name is Anisha, and I'm the production manager of TCN Network. Have you ever wanted to host your own show? Do you have a message to share? Well, you're in luck. We are looking for dynamic and unique individuals to host their own shows. We are seeking people who are committed, motivated, and energetic. Do you want to be the next Jimmy Fallon, Ellen DeGeneres, or Shane and Ryan from BuzzFeed Unsolved? Start here. Fill out the Propose a Show form on mytcntv.com. We're here to educate, support, and build the community. Can you lead by example? Go the extra mile and seek knowledge? Are you humble, disciplined, responsible, selfless, and enthusiastic? Those are our core values. And if you identify with them, you could be part of a growing network that focuses on positivity and uplifting our community. We can't wait for you to join us on TCN Network and hope to hear from you soon.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. So we've decided that I talk too much. So I'm gonna be quiet now and let Dave ask
Decided.
some questions. Welcome back to Here to Help You, everybody. That's all. I'm done.
Really? Yeah.
Yes.
Are you sure?
That's it.
Talk to us about Afro Prairie, the film festival. How did that came to be?
Yeah.
From its inception to, of course, to its now, in the second year.
Sure. So Black Space Winnipeg joined forces with the Winnipeg Film Group in 2017, where we debuted the first, the first debut of I'm Not Your Negro. And that was a sold out show back to back. And then we started doing like bi-monthly community screenings followed by a panel discussions reflecting on narratives within the film. And then we were talking like we should really start a festival out of this. So I'd say fall of 2017, we're really getting everything together. The logo that you see was done by a beautiful, amazing graphic designer, Kaylin Michael from Montreal. So everything kind of fell into place. And we also wanted to provide a concrete platform for Black filmmakers, Black creatives in Manitoba, and really, fostering that community across the country, because there's really not much in the prairies dedicated to Black arts, and Black creators. So this came out of, I think, a long overdue. The film industry has been historically is exclusive towards communities of color, especially Black people. And our first year was amazing. We had Charles Burnett, who is a legendary African-American filmmaker. We brought, he's actually from Toronto. He's a Toronto rapper, Astro the Prophet. He was in Charles Officer's Unarmed Verses. We screened that our first year. And then this year, in 2019, we brought Ella Cooper from Black Women Film Canada, Karen Chapman, and definitely focus a lot of like Black women in film and how we can support us collectively. Also, there was a legendary and a Black pioneer filmmaker by the name of Winston Washington Moxham, who's from Winnipeg, Manitoba. He was also Jamaican, and he passed in 2011. And not enough people in Manitoba, and I'll argue the country, know his work. And he obviously was gone before his time. And it was unfortunate because a lot of his independent films that he made were very conscious, were very politically engaging, and talked about race and identity and politics. And he was just ahead of his time for someone who made so many films in the 90s and early 2000s. So we created this between Black Space and Winnipeg Film Group and our team, myself, Ben Williams, and David Knipe at the Winnipeg Film Group, just to ensure that there are more platforms for us to be seen, to be heard, and to also foster that community of Black filmmakers across Canada, because it is open to independent filmmakers across the country as well, because there's just not enough, especially in the prairies. I think we're the first Black Film Festival in the Prairie region. And this definitely aligns with our artistic resistance that we were talking about before, because you can teach so many people about race and social justice through film and make people really think.
Absolutely. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say anything.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. It's okay.
So, hush up. So, okay, I have a question about creating this safe space, because it's something that you do aim to do for people
Sure.
in Winnipeg. How does that look like in your mind's eye? How has Black Space Winnipeg created a safe space for
I think,
racialized communities?
yeah, I think that it's challenging, but it's also amazing when that happens. And I'll answer that with our Project Heal program. So last year, I reached out to Nedu Ejeckham and Sapphire McLeod, who are amazing community members and facilitators in Winnipeg, to start a community support program that gives Black folks the tools in Winnipeg to work towards better health practices, work through trauma, from direct links of systemic oppression, racism, anti-Blackness, and white supremacy. Because you can't talk about mental health and Black people without talking about racism, you know? And for 14 weeks, I saw over 15 individuals become vulnerable with each other, share their story, heal, progress. And a lot of them said that they've never had a space like that before, to just talk about what they were going through, right? And, you know, challenging also the stigma that exists within Black communities around mental health too, right? Like, I remember growing up, you know, I heard sentiments like depression is for white people. That's a white thing, you know, be strong. You know, we don't do that here. But I was fortunate enough to have that support, but I know not everybody does. And I think that safe space looks like, you know, a space where you can just go be yourself authentically, where you don't have to answer to anybody or think what you're going to say is going to offend anyone or hit the fragility nerve, or, you know, you don't have to answer to anybody. And since, like you said before, statistically, we're just under 4% of the population, and Ontario has 80% of Canada's Black community in Ontario, and the rest were just scattered. So the fact that we have no choice, that cultural isolation and racial divide and segregation is so real in Manitoba. And I'll argue that even though, you know, we're always working to build that space, sometimes it's hard to get our own community out, right? Sometimes people don't want to come to our events, but the more that we're dedicated to it, you build it and they will come. So we've seen a lot of success. We're going to continue to do what we do. And I think safe space is essential for just the advancement, healing, and betterment of our communities at large.
I have one more question for her. I know you may have one, but do you want to ask first? Because I know your questions are long-winded.
My questions are long-winded. I see.
Okay, let me ask quickly, okay? And then, what can we do here in Ontario to help you guys out there? What more can we do for you?
Thank you. That's a really interesting question. When I was at the National Black Canadian Summit, it was really cool to connect with like the Federation of Black Canadians. I met Desmond Cole there for the first time. He's incredible. And I met so many people doing work across the country. And I will say like the Black narrative oftentimes does get, stays within a very Eastern perspective. And sometimes it's hard to break out of that. And a part of Black Space starting too is to remind people that Black people exist in the prairies and everywhere in Canada. And I think what people can do in Ontario to help is exactly what you're doing, outreach, community outreach, and building support networks. Like, how can we all help each other, right? Because, we're all, at the end of the day, we're all in the Black community trying to achieve the same goal. It's just sometimes we're not on the same page. Some person's writing chapter 1, the other person's trying to write chapter 7, someone's trying to work on the conclusion, someone's writing like the index. So we're writing the same book, but a lot of the times we're not on the same page. So creating these networks of communication and just reaching out like what do you need? What can we do? Even these conversations right here are going to remind people that, the movement is across this country and we're always going to have each other's back.
I love it. All right, Dave, we have one more minute. Take it.
Really. It's not a question, but it's more of a statement. Dr. Jean Augustine, she uses the word vigilance, right? And when I listen to you speak, and Simone and I, of course, have come across because of everything that you've accomplished this far, you exemplify vigilance.
Big up yourself, girl.
Right. So continue doing what you are doing over there. Know that you have the support from us here as well.
Thank you. And you continue what you're doing. First of all, I hope you're getting, like, people are recognizing your work, because when I come to Toronto, I'm coming to your studio. Like,
please do. Please do.
And you know what? I wish Toronto, it's right. It is the big brother and big sister of the country. And I always look to you guys. Like, I was on 3 Dreads and a Do-Rag. They're a podcast in Toronto. Sweet Tooth Shay. Obviously Desmond Cole and Black Lives Matter, everything that's coming out of Toronto, a lot of things, I respect it. And you guys are just, you're such amazing leaders, and we can't wait to work together with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Girl, thank you so much for stopping in. This is not going to be your last. This is just the first. And I want to personally reach out to you and say, if there's anything that comes up that we can do here, even if it's just to have you on to say, look, fuck y'all. Make sure.
I'd love to.
You contact us. My mom's going to kill me for swearing. Sorry.
It's okay. Mine too.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Everybody, thank you. I know people are going to have some comments about this.
Good.
We want your comments, but I'm going to say this. From our community, let us try to open our perspectives. I want everyone, because that's another big thing that she talks about, is perspective. Just for a minute, get outside your head. Just for a second, and see things from someone else's perspective.
Truth.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Here to Help You. Of course, we're going to see you next week, because this is what we do. Next week, Tuesday. Stay tuned for Mrs. Erica, the beautiful Erica, with What Matters, next on my TCN TV network. You guys have a wonderful afternoon.
Peace and love, family.
Bye.
Welcome up Abdul Smith to get things going.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, just look. So the piece I'm going to be doing is called Dear Black Child. Dear black child, see your skin tone is your greatest beauty. Can't fathom your creation, see your forefathers left great impressions, despite memories of hardships on cotton plantations. Despite the whips and lashes, the souls that burn to ashes. See, in their absence, I enslaved thoughts to work for greatness, for someday faces will not be remembered. See, words and memories may fade. Before they take rest in the sky, see, my action swears the earth would always remember their existence. See, the ground would check footprints, and the wind to whisper songs on their behalf.